and welcome to the Pod Sound School podcast, the podcast that aims to help you improve your podcast and gets into the lifestyle and struggles of podcasters. This is your host, Veronica, and here with me is my sidekick, Studio Steve.
Studio Steve. How's it going, everyone?
I am the social media branding and content strategies for the Pod Sound School.
And I am the producer and the creative director, and we're here to help you make something big with your podcast.
We'll be showing you the skills and tools you need to make something big with your podcast. In this episode, we'll be talking about ways that you can maximize your podcast and get more out of your podcast creation, aka podcast workflow.
Yes, podcast workflow. This is something we get asked about a lot, which is how can I maximize my workflow? How can I get more out of my efforts that I put towards podcasting? And it's something that we're constantly talking about too, because we all know that it takes a long time to research, to come up with the ideas. If you really want to 10x your podcast, then, doing keyword research and everything else like that, all that work you do before you get in front of the microphone to make a podcast episode, and then it takes like 3 hours to edit it. If you're really going to put a lot of editing into your podcast episode, and then you have to promote it on social media.
You have to promote it on social
try
media.
to get people to come over to listen to it, bring people onto the podcast players. So yes, like Veronica said in this episode, we're going to share with you, 4 tips?
Yes. Before we get into the meat and potatoes or into the rice and beans, whatever, we are going to ask you to share this episode on your social media and tag us. We love to make connections. We love to learn more about you and your projects and your podcast. So make sure that you tag us on Twitter and Instagram at Pod Sound School.
Yep.
So come and say hi on our social media and follow us there too. We share a lot of stuff on our social media for podcasters and YouTubers too.
Yeah, and if you didn't know, we also have a YouTube channel where we have a ton of really helpful stuff.
Because we get it. As an indie podcasters, we have to wear many hats. We have to do the research for our episodes. We have to find our guests. We have to schedule our guests. Then we have to record our podcast, edit our podcast, and make sure that we're active on social media, promoting our podcast, bringing people to listen to our podcast. So that's the reason why we wanted to give you some ideas of how you can maximize the time that you spend recording that podcast episode and just juice it out. Just get the
get the juice out.
Get the juice out. Just squeeze that baby. Squeeze that baby.
Squeeze the baby.
So imagine being able to be on different platforms with only one piece of content. Without adding more time to your workflow. Don't you think that sounds great? I think it sounds amazing. And it took us a while for us to realize that we could do that, to put that in our minds that, okay, I can be recording this tutorial for a client and at the same time having B-roll for our next YouTube video.
Yeah, or even making a YouTube video out of it.
So it requires a mindset shift a little bit. So that's why we're here to create that mindset shift for you.
Yeah, and is it 4? So we're going to talk about 4 different tips, 4 different best practices that will get you started, get you moving in the right direction. And so why don't we start with number 1?
Yeah, let's do number 1.
Okay.
First, ask yourself,
what does my ideal listener type into Google?
So this is very important, and sometimes it seems like a very abstract concept if you are just starting your podcast. If you are creating your podcast, if you're new to content creation, it's like, what do you mean? Like, why do I need to know what people are searching for on Google? Like, well, I don't really need to know that. Or why do I need to know that? But if you're already familiar with SEO and this isn't your first rodeo with content creation, you may be like, yes, Veronica, of course. Like, yeah, of course I want to know what my audience wants from me. But for those of you who are new, I think it's very important. I'm positive, I'm 100% sure that if you do your research, if you find out what your audience, your target audience is looking for, is searching for on Google or other search engines like YouTube, and there are different tools that you can use for that, that if you know what they're searching for, then you can incorporate those things that they're searching for into your workflow, into your creative process. And as you wave those in, then people will find you.
Yeah.
Because by the magic of SEO and keywords.
Yeah, I love that. So you can kind of cater your content or tweak your content, tweak your podcast episodes to match the keywords that you found in doing your keyword research. And Veronica mentioned there's tools for that. A free tool that's really cool is a Google Chrome extension. It's called Keyword Surfer. I'd highly recommend that. And that just shows you can type anything into Google and it will show you how often that's searched every month, and then also give you some suggested other keywords that are similar to that one that are searched. So it's just a good idea to know what people are searching for and to see if your expertise and your topic of your show is one that could answer those questions or could provide the comedy or the entertainment or whatever it is that they're looking for when they're searching for those things. This is huge. And I think it's just part of our journey as podcasters to go from making our show all about us and all about ourselves to moving to making it for the audience and constantly adapting and improving to make it for an audience.
Yes. So we have a video about SEO for podcasting, and we also have a podcast episode talking about SEO. But could you tell us, okay, we have that. We did our research, let's say.
Yes.
And we have a list of keywords that we found either using Keyword Explorer or Keyword Surfer.
Keyword Surfer, yep.
What do you do with those keywords?
So once you have those keywords, and then Keyword Explorer is a tool inside of TubeBuddy, which is what you can use.
So that would be for your videos.
Yeah, and you can use that on. It's a Google Chrome extension also, and it's on YouTube. So if you don't have TubeBuddy, definitely download that. They have a free option, and then if your YouTube channel has less than 1,000 subscribers, then it's only $4.50 a month for their creative tier, and that's the only tier you really ever need. And you can find the link for that in this episode's description. So your question was, what do you do with those keywords? So you've compiled hopefully a spreadsheet, and we like to use Google Sheets for that, or any Microsoft Excel, and you just put a spreadsheet of all these keywords, how many times people are searching for them a month. And on YouTube, if you're looking specifically for your YouTube channel, TubeBuddy will also show you whether or not your channel can rank for that. So you can also put that score down too. And then you just get these really cool keywords. There's a few different things you can do with them. First, you can incorporate those into the titles of your episodes. That's the most important thing you could do with them. Also, if you're going to be having a blog or a website, title the titles of your blog posts those keywords, because then they're more likely to pop up in search and to populate in search when people look for it.
Also your show notes.
The next really important place is just those first couple lines of your YouTube video description. Or on your podcast episodes, there's a place usually with your podcast host where you can put an episode summary and episode notes. And we get a lot of questions like, what's the difference between the episode summary and the episode notes? Well, the episode summary is only supposed to be a couple sentences, and that's typically the couple sentences that people will see on the different search directories or podcast directories. So in those couple sentences, you want to put in those same keywords. Now, Google and other search engines do have... they do have a way of recognizing if you're just trying to stuff keywords in there. So you want it to kind of sound like it's part of your natural language, but putting those keywords in there can really help. But even more than that, I think what you could do with your keywords is you can use them to choose to do topic research and to choose what your episodes are going to be about. I think that's even more powerful than the SEO element. I mean, well, maybe they're both equally powerful, because on YouTube specifically, let's say somebody's searching for healthy, I don't know, you're usually better at me than coming up with what's somebody searching for, an example online?
Let's say that somebody's searching for what products to use on curly or unruly hair.
Yeah. Okay. So what?
Like mine.
Yeah. And you might be thinking to yourself, like, oh man, I don't want to do how-to videos or informational videos on YouTube. I just want to do my podcast normally, like the way it is. Well, what if you are interviewing somebody like Veronica who has this curly, unruly hair?
Oh, and I can tell you, a list of things that I do.
A list of things that she can do, and tell you funny stories about it and everything else, right? So that could be, on today's episode, I'm going to have Veronica, who is an expert in unruly, crazy, hard to manage hair, and she's going to tell you,
has experience,
and she's going to tell you like the best hacks that are going to make it look great and make it more manageable. Hopefully that makes sense, or that was a good example for you. But it's basically how that's going to perform really well is all of the algorithms, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok or anything, they're all built around figuring out what people like. And the more we spend time on an algorithm, the more it knows us. Instagram's probably the creepiest of them all, Instagram and Facebook. And they know who your friends are. They can figure out of your followers who your friends and family are. They figure out what you like. They figure out what you're into pretty quickly. And so they're trying to populate to you or show you here on YouTube. When you first get on YouTube, you get suggested something totally different than what other people suggest. Or on the podcast directories, however, where you're listening to this, the podcast directories don't really have that set up yet, but they will be moving in that direction.
Yeah. So you may be wondering, why are you talking about YouTube? Like, we're podcasters, right? Yeah. And it's because this year, we're making the year that we get you guys into YouTube. That's our thing for 2021. We're going to get you podcasting on YouTube. And if you want to make this the year for you to start your YouTube channel, we created a podcast to video starter guide with our best tips to effectively start podcasting on YouTube. In this guide, we cover equipment, video podcast ideas, and tips to feel confident in front of the camera. And you can grab your free copy by going to the description of our podcast episode.
We will, after we're done, we're going to drop the link to that free guide. It's basically just a jump start, get you started, how you can move from audio to video.
Yeah, we put it together. We put so much love into this guide. We're constantly getting questions like, how do we start? What video ideas you guys have for us, or things like that. So we try to answer all those questions in this guide. So make sure you download it. It's free and it's gold.
It's gold. Yep.
Yeah.
So cool. So basically, just to sum up with the keywords point, and then we'll move on to point number 2, is finding those keywords is so helpful to know what your specific audience, your specific people are searching for. It will help you get inspired of what kind of episodes you can make, what kind of YouTube videos you can make. And also it'll help you to sort of pivot your interviews if you happen to be an interview podcast. It's really cool before you have an interview to say, what is this person an expert in? Why am I interviewing them? Why is my audience interested in them? And then also to say, what keywords that I can rank for can I ask them about?
Yeah.
That's a really, really powerful tip that will absolutely, if you instate that one tip alone, you can stop listening right now and just do that.
Yeah.
And anyway, what I like to do is I usually make Veronica do like number 2.
Write the outline or script powered by those keywords.
And this is like best practices, right? So with repurposing, we just talked about keywords, finding a bunch of really good keywords. So now that we have those keywords, let's write an outline or a script with those keywords.
Yeah, and just to make sure that you guys, we get a lot of resistance when we talk to our clients and our students about keywords and keyword research and how to incorporate keywords into your workflow. And because we're all creatives, and that one of the reasons why we got into podcasting was because we wanted to create something, and we don't want to be limited by keywords. Right? That's the answer that we get from many people. So here's the thing: you have to make compromises a little bit, and you can incorporate your keywords in a way that's still going to allow you to be creative, that still will allow you to have that passion and creativity with your project. Or you can do 1 or 2 episodes with keywords that aim to help you grow your audience and give you more visibility, and then you create a podcast that has nothing to do with the keywords, just because you want that information to be delivered to your audience, or just because you feel like talking about a subject right here in the moment and you don't want to do keyword research. That's fine. But introducing keyword research and SEO into your workflow, it's going to give you more visibility. We want to leverage the algorithms from this like massive search engines to be able to bring more eyes and more ears to our content. So why not doing that?
Yeah. And I love all that stuff you said. And also, basically that rebuttal that you have to people saying, well, if I do keyword research and I try to make how-to videos and stuff, it's going to hinder on my creativity.
Yeah, like, no, I'm not going to do that because I want to be like Larry King.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
And you can still be like
or Mark
Larry
Maron
King.
or Joe Rogan just talks randomly for 3 hours. But the other important point with that, or the rebuttal to that, is you get to choose your keywords. So you don't have to talk about anything you still don't want to talk about. And then you also touched on like the 2 for them, 1 for me kind of thing. So, or 2 for them, 1 for you. So you can do a couple that are really trying to grow your audience, really cater to what people want, and then do one, whatever you feel like doing.
Yeah. So point number 2 is to get those keywords and put them into your outline or into the script that you have for your podcast.
Yeah.
And this is a very important step because you don't want to get in front of the microphone or in front of the camera and start recording about something that you don't feel confident about something that you're not very familiar with. If you're bringing a guest, so having that outline in your mind, having that script will give you control of the interview and will allow you to extract the information that you need to answer that specific question that your audience is searching for on the search engines.
Yeah.
This is why preparation is important. And this is a step that you should not skip because it's going to make a difference in your workflow and also in the way that you prepare for your interviews and record your interviews, or if you do solo podcast episodes, in the way that you organize your episodes or your videos.
Yeah.
So
and it might seem a little forced at first, but eventually you'll get into the habit of it, and things that maybe it's kind of like when you first get on YouTube, you kind of have to get around to saying, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, which can seem really unnatural and kind of smash that like button, but it gets more natural. It feels more natural after a while.
It does.
And so that's what's really cool about this whole using those keywords to actually determine what your episodes are going to be about.
Yeah.
And then some best practices with there, or a good formula that works for podcast episodes and also for YouTube videos, is to start with a hook. Start with something that's going to hook them in. It doesn't necessarily have to be spelled out. It could be something that sparks curiosity, but start with a hook. And then after the hook, you do an intro. So explain who you are, establish some credibility. Why are you specifically qualified to be presenting this information? That's really good for first-time listeners.
Or why is your guest qualified?
Yep. And then give them an audience retention statement, which is give them a reason to stick around until the end. So some people call this a hook and bait. That's basically the formula. It's where it's hey, on this video today, you're going to learn this, and make sure you stick around till the end because I am going to share my 5th most absolute amazing secret with you. Or hey,
and I know it kind of sounds like a little dishonest. Like, what do you mean hook and bait? Like, but basically, what you want to do is to keep your listeners or your viewers' attention until the end, because the information that you have prepared for them is so important that you don't want them to squirrel and go somewhere else. You want them to stay the whole podcast episode so they can learn and they can apply whatever it is that you're covering.
So they can be addicted to you. So
So
you can
that's
become
the hook and
so you can become part of their routine. And that's what podcasting, specifically on the audio, on the podcast players, can be so powerful. People get have such a strong relationship with their podcast hosts. And that's something that you want to always be looking for, ways you can make your episodes more addicting and more enjoyable for your listeners.
Yes.
And with that, we can move on to number 3. Number 3. Find a repurposing and recording workflow that works best for you. Did you like that? Did
Yeah,
that work
I
out?
loved
Okay,
it.
okay.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So here you're talking about a workflow that works best for your specific situation.
Yeah. So here, my idea of a workflow of, and I think Studio Steve was mentioning this at the beginning of the episode, is like, okay, you've done your research. You prepare to record this podcast episode. You have your guest right there with you. Maybe if you are podcasting on YouTube, you have your camera and then you have your microphone and you're ready to go. So something that I want you to think is every time you sit down to create a piece of content, just think about what are the ways that I can maximize this time so I can produce micro pieces of content, or I can repurpose this thing that I'm doing right now so I can be on different platforms at the same time with this piece of content. So for example, when we sit down and we record our podcast like we're doing it here, then we are going live on YouTube. Another thing that we've done is that we record our podcast episode while making a YouTube video.
Yep.
We have our script, we have an outline, and we use the copy of that outline and we use it for our social media posts, for the captions on our social media posts, apps and things that we do to get little clips from those videos to post on our social media.
Yeah, sometimes we have a phone capturing a time lapse of us podcasting. You don't always have to be live while you're podcasting. A lot of times that can interrupt the natural flow of both. So when we're live on YouTube, we stop periodically and answer questions. We can still engage with people live, but then also that might be too complicated. So you don't have to do that. You can actually, like Veronica said, the majority of the work that goes into your podcast is the research, is the planning, is coming up with the topic, is doing any rehearsing or script writing or outlining. That's really the hard part. I love this example Veronica gives all the time to clients is, your podcast is an hour and a half long. You talk for an hour and a half, right? I want you to stop that and start talking for a half an hour. And then for the next half an hour, make a quick little shorts or for YouTube or a TikTok video about it. Or for the next half an hour, go to Instagram Live or do a little video for IGTV. And then for the following half an hour, find another tip that you can do to another repurposing idea. So you could do like a YouTube video, you could do a little video for social media, and then you can maybe do a behind the scenes and actually go live to Instagram. There's all sorts of different things you can do to where you're already pumped up on the topic. You've already got your head full of the topic. But then if you do interview podcasts, so you're interviewing a guest, then you could do the same thing with them. If you're going to have them on the call or at your studio or whatever for an hour or an hour and a half, split that time up. Talk for 40 minutes with them about it and say, okay, that was great. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to shift gears. And that was the podcast portion. I was hoping that you would help me to make a YouTube video for the last 15 minutes we have together. On YouTube, I know that people are searching for this and this and this a lot, and you're a big time expert in that. So could you help that make sense to me? And then, whoa, you have a really cool YouTube video there that's not like this hour and a half conversation that you just had with all these little side tangents like we're doing, but actually a concise, quick, really digestible, really helpful video for your YouTube audience. It can take some time to get there, and you don't need to be overwhelmed by all this. Just start somewhere.
You need to do it all.
You don't need to do it all.
Like right now, I just pull up my phone and we are on Instagram stories. So something simple, just have that mindset of, okay, I'm going to squeeze this baby.
I don't know why, but squeezing the baby. And then something about juicing it up.
Juicing it up.
Yeah, you've had some kind of disturbing sayings this time.
Okay, should we do number 4?
Yeah, we got to do number 4 to finish off this episode. You want to take it?
Yeah, number 4. Use tools to maximize your content repurposing.
Yes. And as Veronica mentioned, tools to maximize your content repurposing, we're talking about apps, really. So we already mentioned the keyword tools that you could use, which would be TubeBuddy. He's a huge fan of TubeBuddy. And then also Keyword Surfer for that. And then make a nice spreadsheet. But also a great tool for turning your podcast episodes into little audiograms would be Headliner. With Headliner, you can also get creative and use photographs and things, so it's more dynamic, more engaging. What I specifically like to do is do those little 15-second or 30-second vertical.
You have a tutorial, right?
Yeah, and we have a tutorial on our YouTube channel. You can find, we just put out that video a couple weeks ago that shows you how you can use Headliner, and Headliner lets you make 5 audiograms a month for free, and then after that, they put their Headliner logo on it. We also like, so that's headliner.fm. Veronica likes Vid Video a lot.
I love Vid Video.
What's Vid Video?
So Vid Video is, you can make little videos like Gary Vee style.
Yeah.
And what that means is that you can add font and titles, big titles to your videos, and those videos can adapt them to different formats. So for example, if they're going to go on your feed on Instagram, it has they have different dimensions. And so you can repurpose that one clip from your video that you want to promote in your social media. You can reformat that video so it goes to Instagram or Facebook, your Facebook group, your Facebook page, or Instagram stories. We post our little clips on Pinterest, and that it's working for us really well. It's bringing a lot of people to our YouTube channel and to our videos and to our podcast too.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned screen recordings. Screen recordings are a great way for podcasters to get creative with making little shareable pieces of their content, because you can screen record your podcast player. You can screen record your podcast playing on Apple Podcast. And then you can, animate that a little bit in video editors, or you could even put that video inside Headliner. There's all sorts of crazy stuff you could do to get creative with coming up with a workflow specific for you that isn't going to take you, you can't spend 30 hours a week on your podcast unless it's your main gig. Most of us podcasters only have 5-6 hours a week that we can spend on our podcast. So make that time really count. And don't just do the 1.5-hour episode of you talking to your buddy. Take some time and make a dent with it,
Yeah, be strategic and be purposeful with what you do with your podcast, and also pay attention to the platforms that are giving you the most return to your effort and to the time that you invest. If it's YouTube that is doing it for you, so make sure that you spend a lot of time creating content for YouTube or podcasting on YouTube. If it's Instagram, just make sure that religiously you post every week on your Instagram, because that's where you're bringing your community together. That's the platform that is working for you, and that's the platform where your audience is at. You don't have to be everywhere. Like if you're a solo podcaster, I would say focus on your podcast and also 1 or 2 more other platforms. Don't overwhelm yourself with, oh, I have to be on Clubhouse. Like me, I just get this anxiety and
that we're not on Clubhouse.
This big FOMO that we're not on Clubhouse. We'll be there soon.
We'll be there,
but
hopefully.
It's just the anxiety so much. We have so much going on. We're like in the middle of launching our next course, and we're planning a lot of things.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So but be patient with yourself. Don't overwhelm yourself,
and just evaluate your workflow.
Workflow.
All it really takes is the 2 big takeaways, I think, out of all of this, out of this episode, are: 1, before you press record on your podcast, take a breath and ask yourself, how can I get more out of this? And then 2 is, oh man, I had a really good number 2 and I think I lost it. It happens.
It happens. Yeah, it does.
So there was number 1, which was that. And then, oh man, it was a really good one. I'm sorry. I totally lost it.
Well, I would say be purposeful, and when you're recording your podcast, how can I repurpose what I'm doing right now? How can I maximize this time that I have in front of the microphone, in front of the camera? And the other one is about goals and expectations. And don't worry yourself so thin and trying to be everywhere. When you don't have to. You don't have to.
And then I remembered it now. It's just take an inventory of take inventory of how long you're spending doing everything. Look at the clock. Just be okay, it's 2:00, and then you don't have to be crazy meticulous about it, but just know how long it takes you to record your podcast episodes, how long it's taking you to edit them. And then over time, look at that workflow and try to streamline it for yourself.
And please, please, please get rid of the perfectionism. We've had ourselves so many debacles when it comes to going live, when it comes to record our podcast episodes. We have so many freakouts when it comes to recording our YouTube videos. Just get rid of the perfectionism.
And just be patient with yourself.
And start doing it.
And if you're uncomfortable, if it hurts, if it's painful, if you're freaking out, it means you're changing and you're growing and you're getting better.
You're expanding.
And with that, we love you, Podskis, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, happy casting.
Bye-bye.
We've had enough of this nonsense.
And there you have it, Podski. What did you think of this episode? Slide into our DMs and let us know.
We make this show for you, and we'll love to learn your feedback. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Pod Sound School. Make sure you share a screenshot of this episode and tag us so we can give you some love on the Instas.
Yeah, and if you're interested in our feedback, we do pod audits most Thursdays live in our Facebook community, Podcasting for Bosses. These are 30-minute coaching sessions where we dissect your podcast, your social media, and your content. You'll find the sign-up sheet inside the group, podsoundschool.com/community.
And until next time,
Happy casting,
amigos!